Badass Attitudes, licensed here, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Badass is an acronym, and each Wednesday, Kelly shares tips, tools, and information about how you can become licensed to be badass too. The bus to Badassville is scheduled to come here for you. Pack your stuff. Turn up your energy with Wednesday Wisdom. Here again is Kelly Orchard. Carry on, wayward daughter.
Carry on, wayward daughter. Oh, I get it. You've been listening to my older podcasts. I know. All right, so hey, badass. This is Kelly Orchard, the Badass Certifier. What Bobby is referring to when he says carry on, wayward daughter is, well, think of the opposite. And that's one of the songs that I talk about from my Badass soundtrack. And I tell the story in one of the Wednesday Wisdoms back in January, where we were covering the B in Badass, which means to be yourself, which is what we're doing. The month of August, the Wednesday Wisdoms are covering the B in Badass. So we are starting up again from the top. And that's where Bobby got the carry on, wayward daughter bit from. Now, thank you. You made me laugh. Hope is also the theme this month on the Apple a Day podcast. So if you want to catch daily nourishment for wisdom, success, and personal growth in 60 seconds, find my Kelly Orchard's Apple a Day podcast on this same platform that you are listening to the podcast for successful badassery. Kelly Orchard, like I said, the Badass Certifier here, certifying badasses one podcast at a time, and Wednesday Wisdom is for skills and drills for certified badasses. Partly to rediscover who you are. You know, a little bit about on the mental health front. You know, I get a lot of newsletters and information about what's going on in, recent mental health, crises. That's the field that I'm in. And, in the workplace environment and everything else, the colliding challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic and the national crises are placing increasing demands on the behavioral health industry, families, and communities across the country. All right, so these national crises include increasing unemployment, reductions in income, food hardships, and homelessness, just to name a few. And they have required the healthcare delivery systems and providers to implement new, innovative strategies for connecting with those in need and other stakeholders delivering care. So I just wanted to share that with you because that's part of what I've done with this whole Badass program is created something different and unique to connect with you. And that's how the Badass podcast started. So thank you for joining me. I'm so glad to have you here on this Wednesday Wisdom. Last week I attended a luncheon for some professional women in my hometown. I'd taken the morning off to be with my granddaughters. I call them Granberries. Midweek sleepovers are like a never happen kind of thing. But this was sort of necessary. My daughter needed some child care early in the morning, and I was happy to rearrange my schedule and oblige. So the morning was spent having some fun with my granddaughters, and I absolutely loved it. Then the event that I went to, the luncheon, was held at a nice ranch here in Murrieta. It was hot, more hot than I thought it was going to be. I really thought it was going to melt when I was out there. But, we're all so eager to be out back seeing people that, will kind of accept that discomfort. So here's what happened when I got there. It's like part of it is they have raffles and, it's like you get to promote your business. So you put your business card in and you have a chance to win whatever prize one of the members brought to promote their business. And so, I wasn't a member, so I didn't bring a prize to donate. And I just, threw my card in the basket. And I don't usually win anything. It's kind of like just an act of futility for me, really, honestly, when I throw my card in the drawing, literally. Everywhere I go, I never win. But this time I won a badass bag. I kid you not. I swear I did this whole law of attraction thing. The second it was held up, I immediately said, oh my God, that's my badass Mary Poppins bag. It's totally mine. And sure enough, my card was drawn. I knew it was my card even from the far distance. I was in the back of the room. And even with my poor vision, I could see my circled license to be badass logo in the corner of the card she held up in her hand. You'd thought I had won the lottery. I jumped up and yelped. I made a fool of myself, but I don't care. I won something, and something that I actually set my intention to win. Whoa, that was very impactful for me. You know how being badass, the B stands for be yourself? Well, I was truly showing my true heartfelt excitement over winning that bag. Oh, and by the way, it was donated by Habitat for Humanity and their Restore store. Cool stuff they've got over there, but you can't have my badass Mary Poppins bag, I'm telling you. So, you know, from the episode in January, review the Be and Badass. That's what I've been kind of doing, just to kind of reintroduce this to you. I don't need to reinvent everything, you know, but the Be and Badass means to be yourself. And if you'd like to go and scroll back on the podcast to January, pick some Wednesday wisdoms out of there, and you'll learn more about the Be Yourself. But, you know, your attitude does determine your success, and badass is a process. It begins as soon as you wake up. So think about this. Your first thought in the morning is, it's going to be a terrible day, you say. Probably. What fires am I going to have to put out today, you ask. You roll out of bed, you put your feet on the floor, you shuffle off to the bathroom, and you look at yourself in the mirror and you hope it changes soon. Does this sound familiar? With all the turmoil, trouble, and transition and toxic energy in today's society and workplace, at home, heck, even as you think about going back to school or at the grocery stores, it's hard to muster up enough positive energy to make it through the day without feeling like a failure. I visualize the big picture and have helped develop the skills necessary to break it down into reasonable steps. And that's what I teach you to do. So whether I'm choreographing an entire production or one dance, putting on a big class, or designing a plan for growth, it's important for you to visualize the big picture first. Imagine how you want your day to look. Then you can imagine your week, then you can imagine your month, and then you can imagine your year. So how you view it will determine what you do next. You decide. And that's the beautiful thing. And that's the D in badass. But back to the B in badass. So what is it that you fear about these failures? You might fear judgment or ridicule, condemnation, depression, maybe job loss, financial loss. You're anxious, maybe that you're unlikable, that you have low self-worth, and maybe you're confused. These are emotions that come from fear, and there are only two true emotions. Fear is on one side of the spectrum. So fear shatters your plans. Fear shatters your choices. Fear hinders your growth. Fear stops your progress. Fear diminishes your courage. Fear smothers your decisions. Fear restricts your movement. Fear intensifies your emotions. When fear calls you, let courage and faith answer. So what's the direct opposite of fear? Love. Who deserves a license to be badass? Well, I say anyone who has experienced failure and decided to rise up, remove the sting, learn from it, and start again. When you identify failure, what is it? Is it your job? Is it your relationship? Is it your health? When you identify starting again, what does that mean? Does that mean stay on the same course or develop a new path? We've all had our lives derailed. This is a good time for you to identify the failures and face them, confront them, and identify what you got to do to start over. We all go through seasons in our professional life and our personal life and our family life. You've had a rough season and you're tired of it. Everyone has bad seasons. Being badass is how we choose to grow through each of our seasons. My program isn't a collection of stories about people who have done extraordinary things and are labeled badass. This is about you and learning to recognize your own badassery and how you got to be where you are right now. It's about giving yourself permission to celebrate your triumphs and ability to overcome tremendous obstacles, struggles, trials, and failures, and get to the good stuff. So in order to win, you must first win mentally before it becomes a reality. You must believe you can win because your belief determines your behaviors. Your behaviors drives your action, and your action has an impact on your outcome. I'm on this perpetual evolution in my professional career, and anybody who has watched me or known me for any amount of time can see that. I'm on this, I kind of visualize myself, I'm the train on the track, and things can come in and things can go out, but the train just keeps moving. I don't necessarily care where the destination is. It is all about the journey. I used to care about the destination, and that's what made me frustrated and anxious. I mean, it's not that I don't have goals. I don't have any direction. Of course I do. But the destination's not as important as the journey is. Where have you been? I was often asked this question, and I really had to take time to consider the question and who was asking. From my perspective, I didn't go anywhere, and some of the events in my life were unplanned. For example, I didn't plan for a health crisis at the peak of my radio career. I didn't plan for a death in the family as I was reinventing my radio career. John Lennon was right when he said, "Life is what happens when we're busy doing other things." Health issues prevented me from pursuing a higher level in my broadcast career. And even after I recovered and had made the journey back to pursuing a new career path and a renewed passion, a death in the family prolonged achieving my goals. Now, I have the tools now in place to work through it. I didn't give up. And I say this all the time. It's not anything that makes me more special than you. It's just I have the tools in my toolbox now, and I really just want to give them to you. So I'm glad that you're here. Thanks for joining me. Now, let's talk about some leadership and emotional intelligence. As we go back in the workforce, there are some things that you can discover and learn about people and what it takes to be a leader. There are some 4 rare habits, and this is an article. I'm going to put the link in the show notes once again from Inc. magazine, and it's things that you can look for by using brain science as it points the way to positive leadership. Before I get to this article, I was at a networking thing last week. I did a lot of stuff last week. I did. There was a lot of things out there, and I was talking to somebody who had actually had a health crisis, independent business owner who's done a Mustang Monday video with me, and they're badass, and was talking about the mental health situation that we're all under, and looked at me and says, "I was thinking about you the other day and how you manage talking to and listening to people's problems all day long for a living." And I shared with them, that some of the training and, to compartmentalize and I don't take their problems home with me, and, I don't worry about them when I'm not with them. I'm just kind of an arm and a helpful tool, aid for them. But that's why I do badass stuff. Also, it's kind of, I know it's my side hustle, but it's fun for me. And I'm literally immersed in positive psychology and brain science and heart math and music and rhythm all day long. And I do work on this with my clients. So it's easy for me to just flip the switch and know exactly what it is that I need when I'm having a moment where I'm down or I'm frustrated or some new crisis has come my way. New tools. All right. So what does it take to lead people? How can you be sure that someone has what it takes? So in this article in Inc. magazine, I will put the link in the show notes for you, but right now I'm going to just read this here. Quite truthfully, the lack of maturity in most leadership settings is becoming increasingly obvious. Most organizations are so results-driven and short-term focused. They don't put enough emphasis on the actual emotional maturity of the people they hire and promote that will benefit the long term. The problem with hiring and promoting people strictly based on things like drive, charisma, and achieving results is that we often place selfish, immature individuals into important positions. So what sets mature leaders apart? Well, if you take a chapter out of cutting-edge brain science, maturity requires living and working with both operating systems of the brain, the right and the left hemispheres, functioning at peak capacity. All right, so this is where things get interesting. The brain actually has the sides drive 2 completely different operating systems. There is the fast track and the slow track. The fast track is responsible for regulating emotions and reading the world around us. The slow track helps us solve problems and perform tasks. Most leaders have been trained to solve problems and get work done, but not trained in relational skills and emotional regulation. The basics of brain science are what anchor these 4 rare habits of mature leaders. Remain rational. According to these authors of this book that is mentioned in this article, a key aspect of mature leaders that sets them apart is their ability to remain relational when they deal with problems. Act like yourself. That's why the Be Yourself and Badass says created. To act like yourself means acting like an adult. This means having the strength to stand up for yourself, but also for those under your care. Return to joy is the 3rd habit. All right, I bring joy into the world all of the time, and the authors say that most leaders are running on 2 types of fuel: the relational fuel of joy and the non-relational fuel of fear. As a motivator, fear is meant to give us energy in short bursts, which is not sustainable for our lives or business. Joy, on the other hand, is an endless motivator that should be prioritized when negative emotions threaten to shut down the fast track. Joy is not a common topic in leadership, but it should be. Many leaders are results-oriented, bottom-line thinkers who don't see the need for sappy emotions like joy. But there is nothing sappy about joy at all. And number 4, endure hardship well. Great leaders of history are often held in high regard specifically because of their ability to navigate the hard times they faced. So this is an article from Inc. magazine. Like I said, I will put it in the show notes for you. I find it very intriguing and very interesting, and I love it because, I use brain science in my workshops and in my practice, and of course, positive psychology. So this article just kind of reinforces what I teach and why my Badass program, with all of the acronyms included and the tools that I provide, is so successful. I'm serious, really. All right. So I would love for you to find that article and read it. And I'm very, very grateful that you keep showing up and coming back. The other day, this is these skills and drills. So that was improve your knowledge. Okay. So I like to have this kind of what to expect when you come to the Wednesday wisdom skills and drills for certified badasses. I was always going to tell you a little story. I'm going to give you something to build your skills, and then I'm going to do something to help you drill those skills into what you do. So, I had the very, I don't know, what do you call it? Privilege and honor to speak to my own Rotary group the other day. I was invited to speak, and we're getting back to meetings in person, and new president has taken over, and new things are going on, and I love it that each time I do a presentation, I learn something new from the audience, but I also am reminded that Badass program, the music is what really makes all the difference. It really does. The minute I play a song that people know but haven't heard in a while, it brings up some joy to everyone. And so yesterday I had 30 minutes to share a little bit about Badass and mental health in general. Because like I said, I am a licensed psychotherapist. Badass is a side hustle. It's what I do for fun, but it's very therapeutic. It's not therapy. It's not meant to be therapy or replace therapy, but a therapist put this together, and it is very therapeutic, and it will help you build all the tools you need for living successfully badass. And so music is part of it. So I reviewed a story that you can definitely hear in one of the previous podcasts. Go back to January or February. I'm not sure which month I actually did the music now. But if you find one, yesterday I introduced them to a story and shared the song Joy to the World from Three Dog Night, which is huge on my Badass soundtrack. Probably one of the very top, definitely top 5. But you got to go hear the story because I don't want to bore you with it again here. If you come to my Badass certification class, you'll hear the whole story and how it all goes. But, playing music is definitely therapeutic, and it is effective for improving the quality of your life. And I hope that you will continue to come back and join me on the podcast for Successful Badassery. I do have my Badass Habits ebook for you and lots of other, free stuff. You sign up to get my Badass Habits ebook, and I will send you a badass sticker that you can put on your car or on your laptop or on wherever, on your refrigerator, to remind you that you're a badass and you got this. All right, have a great Wednesday, everybody. Bobby's got the rest of this. Don't you, Bobby?
Grab your Badass Habits ebook. Get started on your badass journey. Go to licensed2bebadass.com. Friday again, we turn up the energy. Tune in and tune up. Be bold, be brave, be confident, be badass.